Coming up on today's episode of Real Talk Rentals, we're going to talk about technology and innovation in the property management industry. Welcome back to Real Talk Rentals, a podcast brought to you by OnQ Property Management. We're here to give you all the tips and tricks of the property management industry and everything that goes into owning an investment property. I'm Ben, I'm your host, and with me, as always, Mr. Eric Dixon, the go-to expert on all things property management. And today's going to be fun. We're going to talk about some new and upcoming stuff. We're going to talk about technology and innovation in the property management industry. Landlording is probably one of the oldest industries in the world, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Somebody owning something and renting it out to someone else. But there's a lot of new stuff happening, a lot of things that are changing the industry. So let's jump right into it. And Eric, I'm going to kick this to you. Let's talk about tech, innovation, different things that are changing the way people rent out a property, process.
Yeah. So what's crazy is you mentioned, obviously stuff is ever evolving, but more and more, there are more and more rentals and people renting instead of buying. So there has to be a way to manage more and manage more efficiently,
Sure.
In general. And then on top of that, technology is just going at such a rapid pace that I feel like property management was so behind for so long. And now we're just trying to leapfrog and get ahead. So when you say that, like just in property management in general, I've been in it about 15 years and I've seen so much change just from how we just on queue, but not just on queue, but all rental agents and leasing agents and stuff like that.
You didn't even have a smartphone when you started, probably, right?
No, I know,
dude. A flip phone or something.
Hey, dude, I'm not that old.
15 years ago. That's a while.
2008. Oh, dude. Yeah. So, like leasing agents, even like 10 years ago, right? We didn't have self-showing technology. They were showing every house. They were limited to the 8 or 10 hours a day they'd put in. They were commission only. They didn't have a company vehicle and company technology to use, right? It was very old school. Use the key, open the door, manually walk them through, use, sales tactics and follow up and try and get them to apply. And now, because of technology, we can walk in every morning and there's applications ready in queue going because we can show houses almost 24/7, 7 days a week, nights, especially when people are off work, and weekends. And it used to be like leasing agents are like, yeah, I'll work the weekend, I guess.
I want that commission.
I want that commission, and now it's like, hey, look, we can, through technology, and that's just one tiny aspect. Self-showings was a big one. Online applications have kind of been a thing for a decade, but now it's like we see some people still do paper applications and you're just like, dude, they're stuck in the 1990s or early 2000s, and so the traditional leasing agent, is commission only. They use their own vehicle, their own gas. And it was kind of it was a mess, honestly. And it was just like, you only could lease as many houses as there was time in the day.
Right.
Whereas now we can just, through efficiencies, can get through that. And we felt like the incentives were not aligned with our owners. It's like our owners are hiring us to rent their house and we're missing out on people that have to see it at night, people that have to see it on a weekend, people that work night or work days that are only available at night or whatever. And it's like, hey, I can't have a leasing agent 24/7.
Right.
And now we can, be it with technology. So,
well, yeah. And to your point, a leasing agent would be incentivized if they're driving out, 45 minutes from the office to show a house and they show it and then come back to the office. They've got a lot less incentive to drive out again and show it again.
For a better applicant.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I just got to nail this first one.
Yeah. And so it does, like you said, it's like we want our leasing agents and our team to align with the owner's best interest. And I feel like technology gets us a little closer to that every time. So,
yeah. I think too, it's worth digging in a little bit when we say self-showing, and I only know this because I said it. My wife says, I have no idea what you mean when you say that.
It's one of those things you and I just spitball and no one knows
we're
what
talking about an electronic verification box that's on the property, right?
On our vacant properties.
On a vacant property, and then maybe walk through how does that work?
So it's not like you can just show up and go in. You have to go through a verification process. They do a kind of a mini background check on you. You upload your ID. They do, with technology, they scan your face and do on the ID and validate things. They validate the actual driver's license number against the birth date, against the all the data. it goes back and it gets verified, and then you can schedule a time, and then you don't get a code until you're actually physically there. You're validated and verified that you're in there. And then they can go see it with their family or their friends or their roommates or whatever. And they can go look at it. They can secure the home. We can verify it's been secured. And then they can get a follow-up text, email, call from us, and then apply online. And they could be approved for that house same day.
Yeah.
Whereas before it's like, oh yeah, let me drive 45 minutes there. You know, oh, you're interested. Okay, let me follow you to Circle K and get the $500 money order to hold this property for 48 hours while we do a paper application and I run it, you know, tomorrow. And then maybe you can move in a week. And now it's like we're doing move-ins within days, if not, you know, less. And it's so efficient, but it also is more secure, even though it is efficient. And, you know, when you go show a house, I just look back, all the places that people I've showed houses to, I didn't verify them. Like, hey, Ben, send me your driver's license. Let me validate you before I drive over. I mean, first you make sure there's interest, but we did no checking. It was like, oh my gosh, you're interested? Yeah, I'll drop everything and meet you at the house. And then we would pre-qualify them a little over the phone. But now it's like, no, we don't even consider your application unless you've been validated, you've seen it, you've, you know, hit the minimum criteria, then we'll run your application.
Yeah. This is a 100% true story. Is, you know, I would always say self-showing. And I was telling my wife, we were switching from one self-showing software to another. And she said, all this time, I thought you guys just left the houses unlocked. Like your self-showing is just like, go over there, walk through, and then just give us a call if you're interested.
Yeah. And on the sales side, so maybe listeners are more familiar, but the sales side, Open Door kind of like piloted this, I feel like, at least in the real estate sales side of things, where you can self-show yourself the house, or your agent can self-show without having to go through all the scheduling and stuff. And it's taken property management by storm, where if you aren't doing that, or your property manager isn't doing that, you're losing out.
Yeah.
And you cannot convince me otherwise, because I've seen it the last 5 years. And it's like, no, we've tripled the amount of applications, which triples the amount of interest. And we're renting to more qualified tenants.
Yeah.
You know, because we're getting 5 applications on a property and we take the best one instead of maybe getting one. And then you kind of are like, yeah, it's the best we got.
Yeah. I already drove out there. And, and it makes you in the property management industry, what you can cover bigger, right?
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
if it's like, oh, that's 90 minutes away, maybe we don't manage this because I got to drive out there 10 times to show it, you know?
Yeah. And we still have to your point, you still have to drive out to the property. There is an element that you do have to have a human being jump in a car, go to the house. You got to install the lockbox. You got to do the inspections. You got to do the maintenance. You got to do all that stuff. There is a human element, right? It's a physical home you got to take care of, and just this technology. Now, the other stuff that has changed, I made a little list because I just didn't want to miss anything. Like, we do 3D tours are crucial. Like, you have to do 3D tours to attract that out-of-state buyer or out-of-state resident that wants to apply.
Right.
They can virtually walk through that place. Oh my gosh, I love the floor plan. I love the size. There's a measuring tool with a ruler, a digital ruler.
Yeah.
And you can, oh man, my son's bed will fit in that room. Or, oh man, that's too small. Let's go to the next one. You can rent sight unseen when there's 3D tours. We talked about self-showings, nights and weekends, fast application process, executing leases online. Like, we don't do any ink signatures anymore.
Yeah.
Or paper. And that sounds normal. Like, me and you were like, oh, duh. But I'm telling you, a lot of property managers and a lot of self-managers are still doing like paper with a pen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's crazy. It is absolutely
and you
crazy.
figure when you're dealing with housing, people are, like you said, moving from out of state, right? So they may not be able to just pop into the office and sign something. It's like, no, man, when I get to the state, I have nowhere to go. I want to move into my house, you know? So.
And the last piece of technology we love, we feel like it's proprietary to us because it's the only company I've seen do it, and we invested in it a couple of years ago, is these automated locker pickups. We kind of cloned the way Amazon does those. You'll see them at like Circle K or Quick Trip or whatever, and you can pick up your packages. One of our biggest complaints from residents moving in was like, hey, I don't want to have to swing by your office during work and pick up my keys.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh man, we'll have somebody stay after work, or we'll meet you after work. And we were trying to be accommodating. And so we found a way through technology, again, through advancements in this, where they can come, scan a QR code, put a secure code in the system, the locker pops open, and their welcome packet and keys are right there. And this is huge for our clients, our owners that have us, because they know that we're accommodating applicants and tenants 24/7.
Yeah.
They can go in the locker. It's the locker room. Yeah. They go in the locker room
for lack of a better name.
24/7. It's just like old school banks where they had the ATM right inside the lobby. And they can pick up their keys on Friday at 10 p.m. when they have the U-Haul loaded up.
Exactly.
Rather than get off work, take PTO, you're disgruntled because your property management company is only open till 5. And now we're like, no, it's 24/7, man.
Or the first is on a Sunday. I want to move in that day.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, okay, you can come pick up your keys whenever.
It's one of the coolest, most awesome things we do. And I think it's gonna become the standard. It has to be. You have to be able to pick up keys and stuff 24 hours a day.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about the day-to-day management. So now it's rented out person, they picked it up from the automated locker, they moved in. As far as an owner's experience and property management in general, what does that look like with technology, and what new things are we seeing?
Well, so when we were prepping for this we were talking about like any service-based thing you have, say DirecTV or your cable company or any service you have, there's like an app or a web portal or like a browser portal of some kind, right? You put credentials in to log in, and what do you have? You've got your documents. So you've got your lease, you've got your owner's agreement. You better have all your work orders, your inspections, your lease terms. Everything should be summarized and accessible on your smartphone or your iPad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it shouldn't just be like a portal of like you log in and you just see like, hi, welcome, Ben.
Yeah.
Your rent came in or whatever. It's got to be robust, right? And
Absolutely.
so we've built out, our portal has, all those documents, reports, ledgers, all of that stuff, but it also has before and after pictures of work orders, a history. We've had owners been with us for 13 years and they can look at the work order from 13 years ago, the before and after picture. They're like, didn't I paint this thing 10 years ago? Let me look back. Oh yeah. Oh dude, I did paint it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I used it recently. I replaced a fridge, and it was my tenant that I self-managed when he moved in. So he texted me directly, which I'm like, oh dang. Okay. He texted me and said, hey, the fridge is on the fritz. And I'm like, dude, that fridge is brand new. I don't know what you're talking about. I looked 2008. Is when I bought that fridge. And I'm like, oh, it's 2023. That's a 15-year-old fridge.
Pretty old.
And so I'm like, it's on the fritz. At first I was taken aback, like, dude, it's stainless steel. It's super nice. There's an ice thing. And then he's like, yeah, dude, it's making loud noises. It's going in and out, whatever. And so I was like, oh, dude, I logged in. I checked when I bought it. And I was like, oh, 15 years went like that. And so we replaced it. So because we had access to that data, it's super nice. I was going to say we have the inspections, right? So the move-ins, move-outs, routine inspections, any sort of spot inspection, they're all there. And so, every time OnQ has been at your house, you can jump in and check, when they went.
One thing I think we do, and I'm sure a lot of other companies do, but which I think is so useful on that when we were designing these portals, is one thing we constantly heard from people was a timeline. It shows you where the process is, whether it's estimating, they moved out, it's submitted, just a simple, like, so you can log in and see, okay,
where it's at, where it is in the process, right?
Oh, it's pending my approval. I need to go in and do something.
Well, everyone's used to that. Like you order DoorDash or you order an Uber, and it's like, you're not just said like, hey, you made the order to order your Uber and it's arrived. It's like, no, when they accepted the job, when they're 15 minutes away, you get a ding when they're 3 minutes away. You get when it's complete, then you get, dinged for a tip and and a review, and so everybody's used to tell me what's going on without me asking, and so that's the idea, right? Is we want to keep you up to date. And then if you do want to find out at midnight, hey, is my tenant paid rent, or what's my statement, or what are my work order progress, or whatever it is, you can just log in online and check the progress. And if you have a question, shoot a message. If not, it's all available. Yeah.
All right. So one thing that came up when we were talking about this, and you already kind of mentioned it, but I've seen this trend where there's companies in this field and property management that are like, we've innovated out the property manager. You don't need a property manager. You've got this software and it's fine and stuff. Do you think it's still important to have a flesh and blood person in the market? That's there.
It's for me personally, I do. And it's kind of one of our core values, right? Is we want to have a brick and mortar, like human presence in the markets that we're in.
Right.
Not just to say we're here, not just to, say, hey, look, we're here and we have a physical office and we have, local employees, but there's a human element with housing. So it's like housing is the most crucial thing. It's like you need food, you need water, you need shelter. Like shelter it's not just any shelter. It's where you raise your family. It's where you create memories. It's where, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with that, you don't want a chat bot to tell you what's going on,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like AI, like, whatever, you want somebody that actually internalizes it, feels it, and says, man, I have sympathy for you. I have empathy for you. I know what you're going through, but blah, 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 whatever it is. So there is that human element. I think that, that's never going to go away. There will be technology that overturns property management. It will continue doing it, right? But there's going to be a human element that you just can't get rid of, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we're kind of committed to it. Like we pride ourselves in having property managers local that manage, that know the market, that are here physically. And so, I hope that 10 years from now that the technology doesn't, boot the property manager out of this,
Well, I think so many, I hear from our PMs and leasing agents, even just everybody who interacts sometimes with an owner, but that our customers a lot of the times just love to have a sounding board.
Yeah.
A human, just someone to say like, so is everything good? Like you think this is a good decision? Is that the right rent?
Yeah.
They don't want a computer to say like, that's the right rent. They want to hear another person tell them, hey, I'm seeing the same thing you are. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah. They just need a voice of understanding and solidification. And even if I was self-managing, I thought it was worth $1,500 a month. And my property manager says, no, it's $1,300. Here's why. Let me show you, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, I just needed that reassurance,
Yeah, exactly.
to go into it. And there are just tasks that have to get done by a human. Like somebody has to drive to the property, like a chatbot or like automation can't fly a drone to the house and unlock the door,
Not yet.
Right?
Yet.
But it's like pictures, lockbox, sign, any contracted work, replace the tub or put in appliances or clean the house or clean the carpets or put new blinds up or whatever it is. I mean, as of right now, you still got to have a human being drive to the house, and do that. Those move-in inspections, move-out inspections, just documenting the properties.
Yeah.
As of right now, human being has to do that. So,
well, and we talked about this in our inspection episode, but you could take pictures and do all that, but like even just the inspector being like, hey, it stinks in here.
Yeah. There's the intangible stuff.
Yeah. It's that stuff that it's like, you need a human being to walk through and be like, another human being's going to be living here. How does this environment affect me?
Yeah. Yep. So that part of it, I don't know that you're ever going to get away from the flesh and blood person, but I think it's going to be that person can either manage more doors or they can manage just through efficiencies. They can offer better service with technology.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal. It's like, hey, we're not trying to get away from the human element.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give a better experience to the owner and the resident through technology, you know, and use that as kind of a way to make it more robust.
All right. Last thing we wanted to touch on here, and this is something where we've been having fun with in the office. Everybody's talking about everywhere, I feel like, and that is AI and machine learning.
Chat GTP.
Yeah. Hey, how have, I got a couple examples. I know we talked about examples, but what do you think artificial intelligence, how is that going to factor in to property management?
Well, it's funny because even on these forums and these groups and these conferences within just property management, one small realm of society, AI and, these buzzwords is all the rage. That's what everybody's talking about. And again, we have to dial back and be like, what do you want to be automated and what do you not want to be automated? And what the last thing you want is for the user, either our client or the resident, to see like, dude, that was just a robot. Yeah. Or that was just AI, or that was just this. And man, I wish somebody would answer the phone, and so there are really cool, like machine learning things that are really helping us. And there are ways that they can help us with marketing descriptions, or they can help us with, bringing in work orders and determining different things. And it can shoot it down different processes in our system and stuff, but then it will land at the human, and then there will be more data
Yeah.
right there readily available.
Well, it's like you said earlier, the efficiency, right?
Yeah.
It helps if it can cut a couple little steps out until it gets to that person, or prepare it for them a little more.
And I guess prepare for it is right. That's a good term, because I'm looking at it like, if I'm a resident and I have a leak, it's like I have no problem going through a process of uploading a picture real quick, a description, a video, all this stuff, as long as the end user uses that information. You know, it's like, hey, don't make me go through all these steps and these videos and these pictures just for you to say like, hey, how can I help you?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I just gave you all the info. Like, hopefully technology and AI or whatever you want to call it can process all of that. And then the person can get it and be like, oh, done. I'm going to reach out to the tenant, say it's dispatched. They'll be there tomorrow. Thanks for submitting it. You know,
it seems like people are so excited about AI that there are places where everyone's just like, we could do it here. We could do it here. And it's like, that's not helping anything. And better. This is a true story. I just recently, I had to switch to a new doctor, and they send me a text and say, hey, do you want to do your pre-visit paperwork via our AI chatbot? I said, all right, sure, I'll do it.
Done.
So I'm chatting with this thing back and forth. The only paperwork it had me do was like sign a, like thing to treat, basically, like just signing that you're okay. It was like 10 minutes of me chat. I was like, this could have been in that first text message, a DocuSign thing.
They're forcing it, man.
They were so excited, and it was like, just ask me all these questions. We're going to prepare you for this and this. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it was one document to sign, and it was like, we didn't need to bring robots into this.
No, dude, that reminds me. I did the same exact thing with my dentist, filled it all online, did all this thing, got to the appointment, and they said, here's a clipboard. I filled out every piece of information I put on there, insurance card, all this stuff. And I have to put it on this clipboard. And then I turn it in. I'm like, hey, I did this online. They're like, oh yeah, sometimes it doesn't sync or whatever. I'm like, dude, it doubled my work. The experience is horrible. And so there are a lot of bugs to work through. I think in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, it'll be leaps and bounds more efficient.
Absolutely. I'm
just hoping that we can make sure and realize that within property management, it is a human interaction. You're talking about people's housing where they, like I said before, it's kind of beating a dead horse, but it's like, you live there, you make memories there. Kids will grow up there. Your marriages will, flourish there. Like, there's certain things that you're like, you don't mess with people's housing. Like, you don't just try and make this a profit center and only the landlord gets rich off you and we take advantage of it. It's like, no, you make this an experience for both sides. And I'm hoping we can use technology to improve that, and make it that much better.
All right. Well, I feel like that's it. We covered everything from AI to self-showings. Now we know what those are. So that's it for us this time. Be sure to follow the show and leave us a review wherever you listen. It really helps out. And we'll see you guys next time.